We saw the 8th verse, just the Moolam. Any questions, clarifications up to now? Or is it all clear? Just the basic meaning we saw. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then let us go to what Sureshwara is saying, the Vartika, Manasollasa. He gives a couple of verses, in fact 3-4 verses, introducing this verse. Okay. Why this verse is necessary. So let us look at that. Prakasha vyatirekena padartha kepi nasti ched paramartho upadeshantaha vyavaharaha katam bhavet. This prakasha vyatirekena. Other than prakasha, yes, prakasha standing for awareness, consciousness. Other than consciousness, padartha, the object of a word, the meaning of the word, meaning any object. Kopi nasti chet, if there is nothing, that means other than consciousness, if there is no object, nothing else, then paramartha upadeshantaha vyavahara katam bhavet. Then vyavahara katam bhavet. How can there be this transactional world which ends up in Paramartha Upadesha, the teaching of the highest, of the reality? Question is very clear. If what, according to you, right now, all the 7 verses, you have said that all there is nothing but consciousness, and there is nothing other than consciousness, then how come we have a transactional world? Because a transactional world depends upon subject-object relationships. A subject-object relationship, whether you are talking at knowledge-based or experience, involves a sense of finitude. Unless you take yourself as a finite entity, there can be no vyavahara. Laukikam Vedikam va. Therefore, he says, Katam bhave, simple vyavahara, walking about, talking, eating, etc. Vyavahara without very instinctive vyavahara, like that of a cow, Pashvadrishya Vishesha. Or self-awareful vyavahara, ending up with the teaching that there is only one consciousness. All that vyavahara, katam bhavet, how can it be there? Because according to you, all that is there is only one consciousness. Okay. That's one question. Second one. Kasya bandhascha mokshasya badhyate kena hetuna mayaya lakshanam kim syat ityevam paripruchataha prasnasya uttaram vaktum प्रतिपातम सुखेन च उक्तार्थ सप्तम श्लोके ही पुनः संक्षिप्य कथ्यते. He says, not only that, for whom is bondage? Consciousness is always free. Body, mind, etc. and other things being inert, there is no bondage for them. Therefore, for whom is bondage? And if there is no one with bondage, for whom is moksha? Mokshaha katam bhavet. Not only that, you can't say moksha is not there. Because the Shastra says that you have to work toward moksha. Moksha is presented as a purushartha. Dharmartha kama are presented as purusharthas, even in the Shastra. Therefore, obviously, there has to be an adhikari for dharmartha kama and moksha. In fact, you go about saying Bhinna Adhikari. The Adhikari for moksha is different, has a plus compared to the Adhikari for Dharma Artha Kama. How is it possible? That means if there is a bondage, Kena Hetuna. By what reason? See, look at it. These questions have been answered before, but this becomes in many ways the crux of Vedanta that is there. Because you cannot dismiss Vyavahara. You have to explain it. You can't say don't bother about it. You can't say it doesn't matter. Why? In fact, it is there. That is what? It is this experience of Vyavahara that stands against your understanding of the truth. Therefore, some modern teachers try to make Vedanta another experience to counteract the effect of an experience. But in the process, you are reducing Vedanta to an experience, means you are reducing Vedanta, the knowledge of the truth, to the same level as any other Vyavahara, as talking, walking, having a cup of tea, etc. The same level. Then what is the difference? It becomes part of the duality. It becomes part of the duality. Therefore, that Vyavahara has to be explained. And if you say everything is because of Maya, Mayaya Lakshanam Kim Syat? Maya Lakshanam Kim Syat? What is the Lakshana for Maya? What is the definition for Maya? How do you explain Maya? Ityevam Paripruchataha. When these questions come up, he says, Prashna Syad Uttaram Vaktum Pratipatum Sukhena Cha. Prashnasya Uttaram Vaktum. We have to answer these questions. Why? Pratipatam Sukhena Cha. So that the student can understand it very easily. Very easily the student can understand. So for the sake of easy understanding, we have to explain all these. Therefore, Ukthartha Saptabhihi Shlokei. What has been said in the 7 shlokas that preceded it, Punaha Samkshupya Katyate, is again said in brief here. So in a way, the 8th verse is the summary of the whole teaching. 8th verse is a summary of the whole teaching. It is said, we are saying it in brief again. It has already been said before. We are saying it in brief again. Then the Purvakshi gets another argument. Why? Punarapti dosha is there. You are repeating. In writing, you cannot afford to be repetitive. In fact, it is considered a dosha, a fault in writing, to be too repetitive. Okay? It's called punarapti. You are keeping on restating what you have said before. So he answers that also in this. Paunuruktyam na doshotra shabdena arthena va bhaved abhyasena gariyatvam arthasya pratipadyate. He says, Paunuruktyam na doshaha atra. Here in this case, punaruktihi, repetition, is not a dosha. Shabdena arthena va bhaved. Whether the punarukti is in the terms of the words used or the meanings of the words used. Okay? The meaning is restated in different ways or the words itself literally repeated. That fault is not there here because you can have 2 types of punarukti. One, the same statement is repeated half a dozen times. Or what you have said before, you are saying again differently. Yeah, you said it, we understood it. Come on, go ahead. You are writing a book. Go ahead with it. This fault cannot be pointed out as a fault here, he says. We accept there is punarukti. But it is not a fault here. Why? Abhyasena ghariyatvam arthasya pratipadyate, says. Abhyasena, by repetition, अर्थस्य गरीयत्वं प्रतिपादयति. By repetition, we are highlighting the importance of the theme. How important this theme is. In fact, abhyasa is necessary for what? What is abhyasa necessary for? Come on, guys, answer. It's not a rhetorical question.
For owning up the knowledge with abhyasa and
What does it form?
repetition
What does it form a part of?
it's a part of mananam. Mananam.
Nope. Technically, this is a technical question. Yes, it is true. Abhyasa is necessary for owning up the knowledge. No one days. But what is it a part of? Shadlinga Vichara. Yes. The sixfold analysis. Therefore, it becomes a part of Shravanam. The sixfold analysis. Remember the sixfold analysis? What is that?
Yes, yes, Swami.
How you begin, how you end. Okay, Purva Para.
Ramayana Upasamhara.
Then
Arthavada.
Arthavada, okay.
Abhyasa.
Abhyasa.
Phalam.
Phalavatvam, okay. Prayojanam. Phalam is prayojanam. Yeah.
Prayojanam.
What else? 2 more to go. Apurvata. Upapatti, logic. It should be logically present.
Logic. Upapatti, logic.
Yeah. So the sixfold abhyasa becomes part of that. So abhyasa is very necessary for understanding. Without abhyasa, and he says by his repetition here, we are highlighting the importance of the subject and for the student to understand it easily. Both the arguments are there. Therefore, it is not punarukti dosha. If something has to be repeated, it has to be repeated. Something need not be repeated, don't go about repeating it. Okay, so now look at it. How many questions has been raised here? Okay, that first, if consciousness is the only thing that is there, how come we having subject-object divide? That subject-object divide is indicated by the question of vyavahara. Okay, and we cannot say there is no vyavahara. My teaching is a vyavahara. That's why he said Paramartha Upadeshantam, starting from very simple things to the teaching itself. And he says, for whom is bondage and for whom is moksha? This is a very important question. Because Atma is never bound. So for whom is bondage? Come on guys, answer. For whom is bondage?
Bondage is for the jiva. The consciousness manifesting in the jiva, for that is the bondage.
So now you are talking, there are two entities. One is consciousness, one is jiva. And the jiva has to reach consciousness, right?
No, the consciousness manifesting in the jiva. So it is the basis of the jiva.
So there is something that something that is manifest. One is consciousness, and then what is manifest. Correct?
Yeah, it means that, but it is not that actually.
Yeah. Can you see where the issues come up? Who is the one that is bound? Who is the one that is becoming free? Who is the one that is becoming free? Okay. That is why he said in the verse, Vishwam Pashyati Karya Karanataya Swaswami Sambandhata. All that, why? Maya Paribhramita. Mayena Kalpanam Eva. I'm giving you a little insight before I go into the verses. Pure Mayena Kalpitam. Because of Maya, there is a manifestation. Without Maya, where can there be a manifestation? What is there is only one consciousness. What can make the consciousness manifest? When you say manifestation, actually speaking, is only an appearance. Has the gold become the ornament? Is there a process of becoming there for gold? Or has the water become a wave? There is no process of becoming. It's only an appearance. Similarly, the consciousness itself appears as the world because of Maya. So the one that is free, completely free consciousness, appears as the one that is bound. And with respect to the question of an appearance, there is something called freedom. Na bandhaha, na mokshaha, really speaking. Chidananda Rupo Shivoham Shivoham. That's what you are trying to understand. Therefore, this whole Vyavahara, Mayena Kalpitam. Not really there. Cause-effect relationships, other sambandhas, relationships, personal relationship, professional relationship, all of them because of Adhyasa. Because of Adhyasa alone this relationship come up. First, the manifestation because of total Maya Shakti. Because of that total Maya Shakti, there is a manifestation. Body, mind, etc. We have seen the process for it. You can replace one theory with any other theory, it doesn't matter. The Panchabhuta theory. It's okay, one theory for manifestation. You can replace it with the Big Bang if you want to, no problems. As far as the manifestation is concerned. You are left with what? Body, mind, this, that, etc. And then the sense of identification. Remember, when you say, I feel bound, can it be the Atma saying, I feel bound? Think about it and answer. Can it be the Atma saying, I am bound?
No.
Can it be the body saying, I am bound?
No.
Then who is saying, I am bound? Who is the one that is saying, I am bound? Important, think about it and answer. Who is the one that is saying, I am bound? Who is the one that is saying, I am bound? Huh?
The Jiva, the Shukshma Sharira.
Look at it. You're forgetting Adhyasa Bhasha. Satyam Anrutanam Mithini Kritya Naisargikoyam Loka Vyavahara, isn't it? Remember that statement? Mixing up the real and the unreal. Ajnanena Janami iti pravartate. Atmana Sachidam Sascha Buddhehe Vrittiriti Dvayam Samyoga cha avivekena Janami iti pravartate. Remember this verse? Atma Bodha, 25th verse. I quoted it often. Okay. the Atma, that is pure consciousness. The thoughts, that is manifestation. Aviveka samyogaha, he says. Because between a manifestation and the reality, there cannot be a relationship. Atma is nitya asanga. There is no relationship. But samyogaha, aviveka samyogaha, lack of discrimination between the two. I say, I know, janami iti pravartati. I know, I don't know, I am bound, I want freedom. All this comes because of that. Remember, it's purely notional. Even when you use words like jiva, etc., they are all notional. That's what this verse is trying to highlight, the notionality of all that you have taken as real. When you say jiva, you think there is an entity there. Where is an entity? It's like saying there is a bangle is an entity. Where is the entity? Bangle is nothing but gold. Where is bangle? There is only gold there. Leave the gold with me and take the bangle away if there is an entity called bangle. It's called experiential learning. Once you do that, you will never forget it. Yeah. मेरा 10 ग्राम निकल गया. Now gold is the only thing that has got value. Everything is coming up and down. Leave the gold with me and take away your bangle if you think it's an entity. Let the Atma be here. Go away with the Jiva. Where will you go? Where is the Jiva without the Atma? Where is the mind without the Atma? Where are the thoughts without the Atma? Where is the sense of Ahankara, that notion, without the Atma? Where is all your energy without the Atma? Prana, where is it without the Atma? Mayaya kalpitam, desha kala kalanam, vaishitra chitri kritam. He says that. Therefore, the whole thing is Maya kalpitam. One has to recognize this. Even under stressful conditions, more under stressful conditions. We are all locked down at home. Look at what the virus has done. We capture every form of wildlife, put them in cages, call them zoos. Now you know what the zoo animal feels like when you are locked up at home. Maya kalpitam, but locked up, not locked up, bound, free, Maya kalpitam. Virus also Maya kalpitam only. In fact, the virus is more mithya than my body. The virus is a parasite. It's only semi-living. It's not even fully alive. It has to center on a living thing for it to become active. My body is mithya and the virus has to live in this body for it to become active. Mithya is mithya it becomes. So do you have to run scared of it? Not really. Yeah, to protect your body, you take care of a few things. To protect the body. That's nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. Yeah, Maya kalpitam desha kala kalma. The whole thing is from there itself. Nothing else. To see the mithyatum in everything, to understand it's all Maya kalpitam, there is no real Nothing. Other than the consciousness, there is nothing. Okay.
Swamiji, so one more time, could you...
Sorry, you have to speak a bit louder. I can't hear you.
Sorry. So one more time, could you tell us what is it that was bound? That is...
Yeah, the question of bondage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at it. I am nothing but pure consciousness. Because of total Maya Shakti, there is something called manifestation mind. Are you getting that point? What we call Ishvara, etc. But really speaking, it's just total Maya Shakti. Ishvara is a name given to Brahman. Ishvara is a name given to consciousness with respect to the manifestations. Therefore, you have this manifestation. Not a problem. Water doesn't have a problem because manifest has a million waves. Where is the problem? Water is still water. Where is the manifestation? Other than your perception, where is the manifestation? Tell me that. Waves. For water, it is only me. It's only me. Where else is anything else? But look at it. If one given wave, because of aviveka, ignorance and lack of understanding, identifies itself only with the form, then there is a feeling of finitude. Similarly here, the all-pervading consciousness has no issue. But when there is manifestation of the mind, I am manifest in the mind as a sentient being. No problems. But in the mind, there is ignorance about myself. Because mind is a product of ignorance. Maya Shakti. Because of that, this manifestation takes himself to be what? I am this much only. I am only this mind and body. Therefore, I know, I do. Then I want. So all these actions, karma phala, the whole samsara starts. Aviveka sambandha. Yeah?
So is that not ahankara?
That's what you call ahankara. What is ahankara? Notion. Look at it. You take the mind as mind, you take the consciousness as consciousness. Where is ahankara? Thinking, feeling is mind. Consciousness is consciousness. Where is ahankara? Vicharam na sahate. It does not stand inquiry. Yeah. When you look at it, there is no ahankara. Why? Because it's only a notion. Where is ahankara? It's only notional. We are giving too much of reality to the ahankara. I should refine my ahankara. I should keep it down. I should do this. I should do that. That's like seeing a rope on the snake. And one character goes with a stick to beat it. But the snake doesn't die. Another person goes and gives some milk to the snake. The snake is still as ferocious as ever. Somebody chants a mantra, Astikaya Namaha, etc., which will work with the real snake, but not with this snake. So now you know what we are doing in the name of spirituality. It's good for Vyavahara. For transactional life, it is good. Nobody is denying that. Yeah. For transactional life, it is as important as the food that I eat and the water that I drink. Fine. But that's all, not more than that. Transactional life. What else? Nothing. You know, when Vedanta was taught In olden days means 30, 40 years back, there used to be this story told illustrating what is ahankara. Says, there was this huge wedding. Okay. So in this wedding, generally the groom, the boys' party, comes over to where the girl is. That was a general custom. Can be different, can be the other way around also. But this general custom was the groom went in a bharat to the girl's side. And there was a young man who suddenly appeared on the scene, who's telling the girls' people, hey, this is what is necessary for the groom, this is what the groom's parents would like, etc., etc. And he would go and tell to the groom's side, hey, this is the arrangement the girl's side has made. So he was interacting with both these sides. Very smart man, getting everything done, that. Seeing that everything is going smooth. In between, certain things goes into his pocket also. All that was happening. Then when the whole marriage is over, the bride's father and the groom's father both are sitting down. Now they become sambandhis through marriage. Sambandhi is a word. Not samdhi, something that you say in North India, okay? Sambandhi. There is a sambandha, a relationship brought about by the act of marriage. Two people got married. And because of these two people getting married, there is a sambandha, a relationship between the families as well. Primary relationship is of the couple. Secondary relationship is of the family. Relationship. Sambandhis they become. They are both talking. You know, this young man from your side is so smart and things like that. From my side? No, I thought he was from your side. Huh? He came and took so much money from me saying that you all wanted something. He did the same thing with me. All the discussion is going on. And when the man is seeing these two people have sat down together, he disappears. Why? Vicharam na sahate doesn't stand inquiry. Because when you inquire into who is this character, the character scoots off. Same way the ahankara. When you inquire, what is the nature of the atma, what is the nature of the mind? Where is the ahankara? Hai nahi. Where is the ahankara? Not there. As good as not being there. Because there is no reality there. The ahankara is purely notional. It seems to have a reality because it's the notion of the Atma, imposed on the Atma. And Atma is a real thing. Exactly like that rope snake. The snake seems to have a reality because it's imposed on the rope. Itself, it doesn't have any reality, it's purely notional. It has a notional reality. As we saw in the last verse, Sat asadbhyam anirvachaniyam. Cannot be taken as real, cannot be taken as non-existent. Similarly, the ahankara cannot be taken as real because that belongs to the Atma. It cannot be taken as unreal, non-existent, because it's functionally available. Sat asadbhyam anirvachaniyam ahankaram. Is this clear? Or any questions? Is that clear, guys? Or is there any questions?
Clear.
Clear? Okay. So now look at it. Once you have this ahankara, I notion, which looks constant, but really speaking is not constant. Because what you have taken as yourself has kept on changing over the times. What you took as yourself as a child is not the same that you took yourself as a teenager is not the same that you are taking yourself now. Not the same entity. The notions are so different. Even 5 years back to now, I didn't know so many things. Now I know. They're different. Changing entity. And once you have that ahankara, then you want things, you will do things. All that will go on. Naturally. Naturally it will go on. Therefore, the whole world of Vyavahara is based on Maya Kalpana. The world that you take as real. How real is it? This book appears solid. Not really. It is only as solid as a hand is. Both reduce itself into nothing but pure existence. We have seen that before. What is this book? Nothing but paper. There is no book apart from paper. Paper? Wood pulp. Wood pulp? No, hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons make up wood pulp anyway. And hydrocarbons make up this body also. Then molecules, atoms, particles, subatomic particles. What is the final thing? Something that cannot be resolved further. Something that does not have a form. Because if you have a form, you can resolve it into the substance. You go into nothing. Because I will whack you with this book and you will find out how something is there. It is nothing but formless existence. So the whole world is resolved into formless existence. Then what is it that you are calling these things? Notional. By agreement, all of us have decided to call it a book. It is nothing but paper. And all the books that I use in my classes are trying to go back into its source of being paper, falling apart. Here is something other than paper anyway. By common agreement, we said, okay, this will be called a book. Yeah. So your notions about yourself, your notions about the world makes Vyavahara possible. That is food, that I will eat. Really? How do you decide that that is food? How do you decide what is food and what is not food? How do you decide that? Tell me. Go to Wuhan and ask them for food and see what you get. Don't go now, okay? Go after 6 months. What is food? Culturally, we have some idea. That's why we have different cuisines from different cultures. Indian, Chinese, Mongolian, Italian, Mediterranean diet. Japanese food. Who decides what is food? Who decides what is to be eaten or not eaten? Purely by convenience, by notion, by habit. Most of our tastes are cultivated tastes anyway. How many Indians really like cheese? Other than Amul cheese? Amul or Govardhan or those milder cheeses. How many Indians can really take the blue vein cheese, etc.? They can't. Why? Not a cultivated taste. But if you are there in that culture and you cultivate the taste for it, then you like it. All tastes are cultivated. Meaning, what you decided as food, what you decided as not food, all purely notional. Yeah, then in between you can bring in, vegetarian is better, non-veg. Oh, okay. Now once you take the body standpoint, then you can talk about all this. What I am trying to show you all is how every transaction of yours is purely notional. Relationship, purely notional. He is boss, I am junior. Where? In the office setup. It's very interesting. In Israel, everyone serves in the army. Okay? Everyone serves in the army. So in the civilian setup, the office setup, there is a boss-junior relationship. There is a boss-junior relationship. But when they are in the army, sometimes the relationship is reversed. The junior has become the boss. He is the commanding officer, whereas the boss in the office is now junior to him. And he has to listen to that guy's orders. So who is boss, who is junior? Relationships. Where does it go? Notional. All relationships are notional. And our notions rule us. I have friends who are mumukshus. They have a desire for moksha. They can't relate to me as a teacher and study. Even though I say, hey, forget me as a teacher, guys, come listen to the classes and study. That's all. They can't, because the notion of being friend is so much stuck in their minds. Whereas I have other friends who are both friends and students. I respect them for that. That they can still learn. Because their mumukshutvam is high, that's what it means. And I have students who have become friends. That's equally good. Can you see the whole question of relationship, notional? Oh, we are husband and wife. Now we have a sacred relationship. Why? Because we got married. How? A Vedic ritual. You went round and round the fire. Huh? Just because you went round and round the fire, you became married. Hey, what are you talking about? Agni Samyoga has taken place, etc. Vyavahara, notional, equally notional. So what if it is Vedic? It's still notional. The sacredness of the ritual, notional. We call something sacred because it helps you understand the truth. Therefore it becomes sacred. Not otherwise. Some girl somewhere, in our traditional arranged marriages, some girl somewhere, some boy somewhere, never met before. Then there is an official meeting with all the relatives, etc., where you just saw each other. Nothing objectionable. You said okay, because there was so much of pressure on you. External from your relatives, etc., internal because of your loneliness, etc. In that pressure, you said yes and you got married in front of the fire. So two strangers become husband and wife. How silly is that? Notional. It works, notional. Or two people meet in a bar, they go out together, do some fun things, now they are in love and they decide to get married. How silly is that? Notional. Now suddenly it becomes sacred. When you are fooling around in the bar, it was not sacred. Now, because you have registered a marriage or got a church wedding, it has become sacred. Notional relationships. Guru and Shishya. You are the character thinking these are all Hindutva idiots. Born in a secular setup, born and brought up in a secular thing, working in a highly secular setup, believing that the constitution was secular right from the beginning, which it is not. It was the word secular was added into the constitution under the emergency in 1976, when all the opposition leaders were thrown behind the bars. Anyway, we believe that the whole thing was sacred, notion. And what is secular? Another notion. Brought up in this, you are thinking I was a Hindutva nonsense. Fanatic. Now suddenly it becomes Guru, Shishya. Hey, ye kya hai? Another notion. Guru-Shishya relationship, another notion. But Swamiji is a sacred relationship. Of course it is sacred. What is sacred is another notion. Maya kalpitam. What is profane, another notion. Maya kalpitam. With a stranger it becomes profane. But in a marriage relationship it is sacred. Notional. Institution of family, notional. Business relationship, even more notional. Tell me what is not notional? What is not Maya Kalpita? Examine any focus of your life, any aspect of your life, focus upon that. Built upon notions. Yeah. Purely built upon notions, isn't it? Maya Kalpitam. That's what do you mean, Maya Kalpitam? I want you all to think about this seriously. Not just enough to say Maya, Kalpita, Desha, Kala, Kalana, Vaichitra, Chitri, Kritam, etc. I want you to understand what that Maya Kalpitam is in your day-to-day life, in your everyday life. This is Maya. All your experiences, cause effect relationship. Mayakam, where is cause effect? There is no real cause effect anyway. Only from a standpoint. It's called cause, from another standpoint it is effect. We have seen that in Mandukya Karika also. There is no absolute cause effect. It is nothing but a series. If you take one segment, you will talk cause and effect. That's why the question, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Endlessly you can argue. No? The line can go endlessly. No, but Swamiji, we have modern biology to answer us. What is that? The chicken came from an egg that was laid by a non-chicken. By something that was not a chicken. Then from something that is not a chicken came. Swamiji, that is what evolution is about. So what you are saying is evolution is cause effect and there is no real cause effect, isn't it? Evolution is cause effect from this thing. But then it is not cause effect also, because from a non-chicken you got an egg which gave a chicken. Where is cause effect? Standpoint. Golden ornaments, cause effect, standpoint, notional. That you are bound, notional. That you want moksha, notional. You are never bound, then what are you seeking moksha for? Purely notional. Don't worry, I'm not going to stop the class tomorrow onwards. I'll keep it going until all of you understand it. Just because it's notional. Because I want you to understand it is notional. And understand there is neither bandha nor moksha. So my whole working life is based on this. My whole life. Forget all this. These are all man-made things. What about real things? What real things? The earth that you walk about, really? Is it flat? All my experiences screams out it is flat. The earth is flat. Every experience of mine highlights that. But we all know it is not flat. We all know it is not flat. It's wrong. So look at it. The construction of a building, the construction of a road, of any structure is based on flat earth. Nobody makes the foundations round. No architect, no engineer will make the foundation circular. There are circular designs available, but that is for earthquake resistance, etc. Not for, because the earth is round. There it goes. Rising sun, on which your whole idea of time is based on the rising sun. It doesn't rise, notional, appearance. So can you see that? There is nothing which is not notional. Mother-child relationship, born of my own body. So, 2 genetic codes are available. That's it. My child and my hand, are they the same? Your 2-year-old will disprove it. You don't need an adult teenager rebelling to disprove it. You only need a stubborn 2-year-old to disprove it. Your hand does what you want. The child does not. What my child? Notional. It's a Purna Purusha there. A complete person. Yeah, you will talk nicely about, quote Khalil Gibran also to me. Your children are not your children. They are the children of the future. Strive not to make them like you, but you strive to become like them. They come through you, they don't belong to you. All that you will quote. What does that mean? Whole thing is notional. When I say notional, it becomes, oh, no, mother-child is sacred. No, mother-child, unconditional love, myth. It's symbiotic love, not unconditional. Which is it that is not notional? Notion means Maya, remember this. Now you don't think that there is a separate thing now called notion other than Maya. Because if you use a word, people tend to take it as an entity. No. When you say Maya Kalpitam, you mean notional. Just a standpoint, just a way of looking at it, just a perception. Let us take a scenario. The mother went to the hospital to deliver a child. She delivered a baby boy. Another mother had also delivered a baby boy. And the children got exchanged by mistake. Normally hospitals are very careful that it doesn't happen. But mistakes can always happen. Can you all hear me, or have you all gone off? Okay. So let us say they all got exchanged at the hospital. Both of them got interchanged at the hospital. Okay. Then they got interchanged at the hospital. Okay. When they got interchanged at the hospital, the child was brought up as my own. Both the mothers brought up the child as their own. And let us say after 20 years they found out that the children had got exchanged. Will they stop loving that child as their own? Or even after 10 years, will they agree to an exchange back to correct a wrong? Either way, it becomes notional. Either way, all that it shows is either way, all that it shows is that you are being ruled by a notion. My child, even though it is not my child, but my feelings are there, therefore that's my reality. We agree to an exchange. The notion of your genetics is more important to you than your feelings. Either way, it's notional. So can you see that? All that is there is purely notional, nothing more. In fact, it's important to look at everything in your life and understand it is purely notional. Only then the fact that your pure consciousness will become crystal clear. Your whole life is notional. How does that feel? It can raise two types of feelings in you. One, it can be liberating. Why? Hey, everything is notional. I am nothing but pure consciousness. I have no care in the world. I am nothing but pure consciousness. My work, my life is made up of notions. That's the fun of it. I am free. I am fine with whatever happens. Or it can seem threatening to you. Why? I have nothing to hold on to. These are the things I was holding on to. That's why I always say, you hold on to the knowledge and nothing else. To the fact you are pure consciousness. But Swamiji, that's not very clear. If that's not very clear, hold on to the understanding of Ishvara, that Ishvara is everything. It's a manifestation. Until you can get to the understanding that what is there is nothing but pure consciousness, and that's what you are. Okay, I suspect that for most of my students it is not threatening, though it can be a little disturbing because you are not fully there yet. So, what do you hold on to? You hold on to the knowledge that you are nothing but pure consciousness. You hold on to your understanding of Ishvara, the cosmic order, etc., where the whole manifestation is nothing but Ishvara, even though that's also notional. Ishvara is nothing but Brahman anyway. Ishvara is nothing but consciousness. So they can be used interchangeably. Therefore, with that understanding, you live your life. usage is notional, but certain notions are important. Certain notions may not be that important to you. So you live by that. Understanding that these are important notions to me, therefore I live my life by that. Karma Yoga, important notion for me. Sannyasa, important notion for me. Guru Sishya, important notion for me. Parent child, important notion. But notions. What am I? Pure consciousness. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. What is the world? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Then what is all this notional? When you live by that, you enjoy your freedom. Therefore, the whole attempt in Vedanta is to make you understand that. That's why the repetition. I could go ahead today, but I don't want to. I want to because it's a very important idea. I want you all to spend time this week thinking on this, deliberating on this, contemplating on this, okay, on this understanding of how things are. Good place to stop. Om Tat Sat. If there are any questions, shoot.
Swamiji, last 5 minutes.
How's that?
Last 5 minutes, no?
Sorry, I am not hearing you.
Last 5 minutes, what are you here?
Last what?
Last 5 minutes.
Suren, speak closer to the mic. Surendran, please speak closer to the mic, only then I can hear what you are saying.
Stop, I have become only.
Yeah, there was some problem. Yeah, last few minutes there was a little problem with the connection. I don't know why, it never happened before, but this time there is a small problem. That's why I'm sometimes fading in and out. So when I'm fading out, I've stopped. Within a minute we have reconnected. Therefore it must have seen, those gaps must have been because of that. So think about it. Good place to stop. Om Tat Sat.